When you think of famous poets and writers, Shakespeare often comes to mind. But have you ever heard of the Chinese Shakespeare? Du Fu is widely regarded as the greatest Chinese poet, with names like the Chinese Shakespeare and Chinese Virgil. He revolutionized what poetry is today in the world and influenced many poets to come. Even though Du Fu's poetry is amazing beyond comprehension, it's his character that makes him a role model. Du Fu was born in Henan, 712, during the golden age of the Tang Dynasty. Arts and literature thrived during this period of time, led by poets such as Li Bai and Du Fu himself. Du Fu's dream was to serve in the imperial court, but in court, his presence was always minuscule, so eventually he left. Du Fu spent the last few years of his life in Chengdu. He built his famous thatched cottage, which would become a famous landmark in China. During this period of time, his poetry flourished, and for once he was at peace. 8 years later, Du Fu was once again forced to leave. He died on a riverboat at age 58. Du Fu's poetry was about politics, his country, and the core of life. This also earned him titles like the poet historian and the poet sage. In his lifetime, Du Fu wrote over 1,400 poems. One of Du Fu's most famous poems was written when China was in turmoil. The country was falling apart, and Du Fu was separated from his family. This poem showed his loyalty to his country and his empathy toward the people in it. I will now recite it in Chinese.
春望，唐·杜甫。国破山河在，城春草木生。感时花溅泪，恨别鸟惊心。烽火连三瑞，家书抵万金。白头搔更短，昏日不胜簪。
Even though Du Fu's life was filled with pain and misery and longing, he never let up. Du Fu was a warrior at heart, a person who never stopped working even when his goals were out of reach. Today, Du Fu is celebrated as a national icon in China and a role model for people young and old.